Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of Not So Fresh Off the Boat. On today's episode, Chris and I are joined by our good friend Cecilia Forberg, a paralegal for a non-profit specializing in assisting immigrants seeking asylum. She's going to explain a little bit about her work, the asylum process, and we'll share our reactions. Some notes before we begin. The grounds for asylum are typically an individual who fears persecution in their home country on account of the following protected grounds may qualify for asylum: race, religion, nationality, political opinion, and membership in a particular social group. We would also like to point out that she is not an attorney and that nothing we discussed should be taken as legal advice. All opinions are her own and have nothing to do with her employer. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show.
All right, welcome back to episode 4 of Not So Fresh Off the Boat. Just to recap, last week's episode, we talked to one of my friends, Nathan Suk, told us a little bit about his parents' story coming from Laos and Cambodia and seeking asylum in the United States. And that's a topic that we wanted to explore a little bit more. So we thought, what better way than to get somebody that we know that works and does that type of work. So would like to introduce our guest, Cecilia Forberg.
Yay!
That's me.
There's a studio audience.
Yeah, if we get a studio audience cheer, that'd be
You
great.
should insert some clapping, some cheers.
Oh yeah. Xander, make note, please. First, you want to give us a little background on kind of like what you do and stuff like that?
Yeah. So,
Wait,
my name is
first and last name, please. First and last name.
Cecilia Forberg. Would you
And
like
your
that
title?
spelled out? An official title, you said?
Yeah.
So I'm a paralegal, and I work on asylum cases specifically. So I work at a place called National Immigrant Justice Center, which is a legal nonprofit that deals with all different types of immigration. But I work on our asylum team, and yeah, I work with like a team of lawyers on just helping prepare cases, helping prepare like people's statements, explanations of their story, and also helping them file different like applications that they qualify for while they're in the middle of their cases.
And your social security number?
That can be found. It's actually hanging on my wall in my bedroom, which is really.
You've got your card just like thumbtacked onto like.
It's actually framed. It's framed in front of my bed.
It's normally her Zoom background. It's just like being.
Yeah, I'm just not there right now. Otherwise, you would see it like right here for the audience.
You love having your social
I'm really proud of that card. It actually, and the color scheme matches my room, the blue and orange.
I remember we grew up so we've known each other for a while. I remember when we were younger, you used to like taunt me with it because I didn't have one. I remember that a lot. So I guess, how'd you go from being like that when you were younger to getting into this line of work? This is 100. That's 100% a joke. She never did that.
Never did that. I actually didn't know where my social security card was, and I would never do that to you. Come on.
She would. Yeah, that's 100% a lot. But yeah. So how did you get into that line of work? That's interesting.
Yeah. So I was kind of thinking about this. Like, I guess I've always loved social studies, always my favorite subject in school. I was like a big AP Human Geo nerd in high school. That was my class.
It's a pro social studies podcast.
Yes, I love social studies. Underrated subject. And I feel like, I don't know, for a while I was just like, oh, I'm interested in like other countries, other cultures, but like TBH, that's like kind of could have at the time and sometimes after that like been a little like culture vulture-y, like I am a white person, and I was like, ooh, international stuff is fun and different. But then I went to college and I was like, let me do international studies as my major, because I was just like, I don't know, thought it was interesting to learn about other places and how people live their lives. Quickly, well, not so quickly, but like through that major, started to learn about how fucked up the US is and how like we actually have like our slimy hands in every other country's business, and then also like at the same time are just like, fuck all immigrants, you can't come in after we like mess up your shit. So I think in college I was like, oh, really exposed to like a different I don't know, picture of what it means to be here. And then I worked like I knew that I wanted to do some sort of like political or social service minded job. And I did an internship where I worked with like refugees who were being resettled. And then, yeah, that kind of like led me into wanting to work in this sort of field.
Can you speak more on your internship? Like a little bit about like what that was like, your day was like around?
Yeah, so that was like at Refugee Resettlement Agency in Chicago. And I was an intern kind of case manager type person. So I would like go and pick up people when they got to the US, like from the airport and bring them to their new apartments. And like, because when you come as a refugee, like you actually get set up with an apartment and like you have like legal status here. So we would get their apartment set up and help them get connected with like medical appointments if they needed them. It was a lot of like going around to appointments with people and like addressing whatever like adjustment needs came up for them. It also involved a lot of like carrying massive furniture into apartments and like just that kind of like hands-on sort of just.
Like you're not just like sitting there like helping them get their paperwork together, like you're helping them like everything they need to do to settle.
Yeah, well, because like when you come as a refugee, it's actually crazy because you just like literally get picked up from the airport from like a random person that you don't know, which was sometimes me, and then you're like, okay, I'm taking you to your new home in this country that like you don't know, and it's just like a weird process. So my org was part of the like 3-month adjustment period, like getting people oriented to their new surroundings. Yeah, so that was like my first taste of sort of like hands-on work in the immigration realm. And I didn't know if that was what I was gonna like stick to, but then I had a really good opportunity after college and stayed with it.
I have a question actually. How do because if these people are obviously refugees coming from overseas, how do they get like lined up with the organization to like handle like that case? And
so sorry, are you talking like that job that I did before or my current?
I guess the one before, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, so when people come as refugees, it's like a pretty like kind of straightforward process where the U.S. government is like very involved in well, actually this like doesn't exist anymore because Trump slashed all of this, but like people would be accepted into the U.S. as like refugees, and then I don't remember exactly the name of the governing body that does this, but basically they would like figure out where people would be placed, what city they'd be placed in, and then within that city there are like nonprofits that get the money from the Office of Refugee Resettlement, like ORR is the larger government entity, and so yeah, then they distribute the money out to these little like nonprofits that facilitate all of the like case management and setting people up with stuff.
My stomach's in knots just thinking about like landing and not even knowing who's picking you up.
Or like really where you're, I mean, you know exactly, you know where your destination is, but like it's so random then. Like it's not like,
yeah,
you know, it's not like that choice migration that I can think of with my family or yours, you know, where you make the decision, like we're going here.
I mean, I didn't know anything about the U.S. when I came here, so I don't even remember who picked us up, but I think we picked, like, we landed in Chicago, but I do remember just being like, I want to throw up. I'm so scared.
Well, yeah, I can't imagine being like, okay, you literally don't know anything about this place, and now you're supposed to accept that you just live here and like you're not going back to where you were before.
Yeah, you don't get here and you're like, home.
Yeah.
Like, why does everyone sound so weird?
Yeah. Why do they not know what I'm saying? Why are they looking at me like this? Just all sorts of weird, yeah, adjustment stuff.
Oh,
was that like when you would have to like help out with like taking them from the airport? Like, was that awkward? Like, what was that like?
Sometimes because like sometimes we didn't have a common language. So like a lot of times at the time that I worked there, a lot of our people were coming from Iraq, and most of them didn't speak English, so like it was very awkward because we really couldn't communicate, and so it's hard to like be like, you should trust me to take you to your new apartment in the city that you've never seen. And I can't tell you this without Google Translate on my phone. Like, very weird. And I think that's also something where like, probably I, as like a sophomore in college, like shouldn't have been the person doing this, but that's also just like the nature of nonprofits, I feel like. So
like who's available?
yeah, basically, like I definitely had zero authority to do half of the stuff I did, but
Yeah.
And
Your heart was in the right place. Not like a typical. Can you imagine like just a generic like college sophomore like driving a refugee family from the airport and they're just like saying shit that isn't relevant at all. They're like, there's a really sick bar like a couple blocks over there. They have fucking sick dollar beers on Wednesdays.
you go to happy hour.
Oh my
Happy
God.
hour. They have that where you're from. Dude,
Yeah.
I say happy hour.
Have you heard of $1 shots
Yeah,
this week?
Yo, me and my
Wait,
boy.
you don't know what Jersey Mike's is? There's one around the corner.
You got cash on you? We should go. It's so insensitive. I can make these jokes because I've been in that situation. That's my authority here. But so what I'm curious is what was the so we'll move on from this in a second here, but I think this is so interesting. What was the like how do you say? I don't want to say vibe, but what was like the feeling when you were like picking these people up? Was it the same kind of mood every time, or did it change? Did it vary much? Did it ever get easier on you? Like, I feel like it'd be a tough thing to get used
I mean, it's like, it's weird. This was like a long time ago, so I don't remember like, I remember more so like things that we would do afterwards that like, one of the things that was weird to me, again, because I was just like still learning a lot, is I thought like, oh, like people are gonna be like so excited to be here and like out of whatever their situation was, and like oftentimes yes they were like grateful, but also like sometimes people were like mad. They were like, this is crazy, like why can't I like get what I need done, like I don't know. I think it's just like yeah, some people were frustrated by what they were met with here because they were like living in at like the absolute like bottom of, you know, like this is their society. Like people were in these like pretty shitty apartments, like not really getting a lot of monthly income and like didn't speak the language. So like there was a lot of frustrations that people had, and I think that was kind of like at first weird for me to accept, but now I'm like, well duh, like that's hard. Like no one wants to come and then also be like, I don't know, not feel like they're being fully like cared for either. So but I mean, there were like, it's not like everyone was in that headspace. A lot of people were very much like happy and excited and very grateful. Definitely like very, very grateful. But yeah, it was a mixed bag in that, which I think is like very representative of just like people. Like everyone's gonna have a different, you know, reaction to this their new like surroundings and new situations.
Yeah, because it's like not a vacation. It's like you're rebuilding your life.
Right.
Like there's a lot of work that needs to be done now. It's not just like, man, we're in Chicago, baby.
Yeah,
Bears.
like time to enjoy. Yeah.
Well, and in the case of a refugee, since it's not as like you're not as much in power of like that type of decision in terms of where you go or the apartment you're going to get, that probably makes it a little more complicated emotionally because a lot of things are just happening to you. You're not like, you know, in the driver's seat per se, like choosing your apartment, choosing that type of stuff, like, you know.
And I feel like for like a traditional like head of the household, like having the choice, you know, the ability to choose stripped away from you, I feel like that would be very difficult to accept, very frustrating for sure.
Right. Yeah, and to not necessarily have like people that you know who have like gone through it to be like, this is how things go. Instead it's like some, again, random like young kid, or I mean there were obviously other people that worked there besides me, but like having someone like me telling you this is what's going to happen is like, what, like why? Yeah, it sucks to have that taken away.
But like so moving on to your current job now, what's that look like? More like, are you still like hands-on, like going out and meeting people, or is it more like office stuff? Like how is a day in the life currently for that job? Obviously things are different with the pandemic, but
well, yeah, now at my house. But now I don't do like I don't do like any of the going out really into like the community as much. But so now I work as a paralegal, and I do a lot of like intakes, so evaluating new cases that we might be able to take on, which is sort of just like interviewing people about their life and like why they came to the US. And then
What are some of those factors that like determine whether or not you take a case?
So a lot of times it's like, I mean, it basically is whether or not like we think that the case is like strong enough to win, because we don't want to like waste people's time if we like the attorneys that I work with like have so much experience and know kind of what to expect from the immigration court, and sometimes people are in front of a court, sometimes they're going in front of the asylum office, but basically they know like what, it's pretty straightforward in a lot of ways, like based on past cases what will win, and so oftentimes it's based on, do we think that it's a strong enough case, is it like which I don't know, involves a lot of like I don't know, I don't want to get into like the weeds of like asylum laws, but basically just seeing how likely it is that they will be able to prove that the things that they say happened, and that they'll be able to get some sort of protection.
Yeah, no, about it throughout the rest of this episode, feel free to get as statutory as you want. We literally on our first episode listed like, well, what do we want to say, Paige? Like 20 immigration acts, and literally listed out what each law was.
Yeah.
So by all means,
Okay.
get as asylum law as you want.
Yeah, could you list every law in order?
Yeah. Well, the other thing on that though is like I was telling Pedro this, that like I even though I've like worked now with like specifically asylum for like since I graduated for the last like 2.5, 3 years, I still like don't know. I probably only know truly like 3% of like what there is to know, because it's just like such a beast, like immigration in general, immigration law, but like even asylum is like, so there's just a lot to it, and it's so I try to
spend like a whole career doing this and still be like in the dark about a lot of stuff, right? Because there's just so much to it.
Yeah, and it changes so often, like throughout, obviously, especially throughout this administration, it's just constantly changing, and there's always these new rules that like then everybody has to scramble and be like, okay, how is this going to affect all of our cases, all of our clients? Like it's so much to keep up with.
That's
Founding fathers, federalism was a lie.
It was.
Pedro, remember this goes. I mean, it ties back into something we talked about too. What was it 2 episodes ago? Yeah, no, the first episode. We're talking all about DACA. We're talking about how like Pedro's entire livelihood could be determined just because of who sits in office, and that's just one thing. Like that's just the DACA program we're talking about. So everything you're saying too, it's perfect. Like there's so many parts of the immigration system that just because of who is occupying the head of the executive completely changes the lives of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I actually there's a good quote that I read the other day in one of the many online forums that I frequent in regards to DACA and everything like that. It was someone said, we have to get lucky every time in order to stay in this country. They only have to get lucky once to kick us out. Like the username that said that was very inappropriate, so I'm not going to say it out loud.
Now I need to know.
But so I thought about that and I was like, oh my gosh, like I have to ride this wave until something gets fixed. But one hiccup and it could mess everything up.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's like just so frustrating, and that's something that like I think about a lot in my day-to-day. Like it's like everything is like stacked against the individual for the most part, and they're like just subject to like whatever rules wave in, whatever, like you're saying, whatever administration waves in that can like determine everything for them, and they don't really have like any say in that. And it's like it often times makes it also feel like obviously it's worth doing all of the work to like make sure that that person is okay, but it's just frustrating to be in that and be like, even if you do all of the things right, like if the if a new policy is rolled out, people's like chances can be just taken from them immediately. It sucks.
It's
Sorry, that's so I also feel like it's easy for this conversation to just be so depressing, so I'm really sorry.
No, it's fine. We figured that out like episode 1. We were like, we were here to make jokes and have fun, but this is depressing stuff.
Yeah.
You make light of what you can. But what I guess as far as like I guess in terms of the stuff that you guys have had to do maybe a little bit differently. I know there's a lot to it, but because you keep mentioning, like because of like the current administration, like Trump, like what kind of has made everything like different? Like do people at your office maybe talk about like, oh, this is so different than how like stuff used to be? Like does that kind of come up often just because of the way they've treated this whole process?
So I don't often hear people talking too much about like how things were like, I don't know, say in the last administration. It's more just like adjusting to all of the things that keep coming out. So like even in the year, so I've only been at my current job for like a year and a little over a year. And there have been a series of new rules that have come out that like one example is, so people who are seeking asylum do qualify to apply for a work permit after their like asylum application has been pending for 6 months. And there was a whole new rule that came out that was like, actually now they're gonna have to wait an entire year and they're gonna have to pay to apply for asylum. And it's just like, things like that where you're like, well shit, like now we just have to tell all of these people like, sorry, you're gonna have to wait even longer, like, and now we have to scramble and figure out like all these new fees and just these little like nitpicky things that will come, and they come as these like large policies, and then it's like, well, this is like everyday people who just like are screwed by this thing. And there's been stuff like that just to like also like deteriorate the qualifications for asylum, and what would make somebody like actually eligible too. So that type of stuff like has just constantly been coming up. And so it's a lot of like the people I work with, the attorneys, like kind of scrambling to come up with new ways to deal with it and new policies for us.
Yeah, and that, I mean, and that's bullshit because it's not, I mean, I get, obviously it's hard when families like choose to make that decision on their own without going through like an asylum process where they cross the border, quote unquote, illegally or whatever. Mm-hmm. It might not be like, it might just be because, they want a better job opportunity, something like that. But with like asylum, like you're obviously going and choosing to leave for a very specific reason that you could be in harm like right now. And like time is of the essence to like get the hell out of your situation. So like, what the fuck?
Exactly. Like it's so urgent for a lot of those people. And like, we're making it impossible for them to do so. There's also, I don't know if you guys have heard about this policy that's called like the Remain in Mexico policy, which came out last year, I think. And basically people who arrived at the border before being admitted into the US, they would actually have to go wait in Mexico for a court date. And sometimes these people were fleeing like Central America and also faced harm in Mexico, and then are told that they have to just sit in Mexico for months and months and months, sometimes year, like up to a year, where they're in direct danger still. Like, and like people have been kidnapped and all of this while they're waiting. It's just like, we're literally putting like the most vulnerable people into even more dangerous situations, like fully sanctioned by our government. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. And not even I know on that situation, I have heard of that, and not even Mexico has clean hands on that one because they don't want anything to do with the Central American migrants either. Like they will deport them right away as quickly as possible if they can, because I know the U.S. incentivizes Mexico to deport those people as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
You hear that, Pedro? Our people suck.
I'm actually from Connecticut.
Hartford, right?
Hartford, Connecticut. I don't know anything about it. So I have two questions actually. So the first one is if the rules of the law just change while an asylum case is pending, is it then like so I guess what I'm trying to say, and I'm going to use words to say it, is it then processed by the latest set of laws, or is it like they look at the date that it was applied on?
So I guess it kind of depends on the rule, but stuff like so there are certain like newer rules that would impact, like if you had criminal charges, like certain things could disqualify you from asylum, like that would apply even if you had those charges before the rule was implemented. There are other things. No, I guess I would say like most of the stuff does impact people who have pending cases. The only time I guess it doesn't is like there are certain things like, okay, people who entered the US after a certain date are only impacted by newer policies. But yeah, a lot of it does still affect those who have been waiting for years, which is also like bullshit, like.
Yeah. You're like stacking your papers, be like, everything's in order. We did everything like we were supposed to.
Yeah.
And then a year later, they're like, oh, things changed. You're out of here. That's fucked, dude. And for that year wait, is that a real current like the real timeline that you have to wait a year before you can get a permit, and then
For the work
like
authorization?
a work permit? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's currently in place. There is like this legal organization that has like figured out a way for people to become members of their org, and then with that they can apply sooner, but they do still have to wait 6 months after filing for asylum. And sometimes, and you have a year when you enter the US to file for asylum, but then after that date, you still wait 6 months and now a year to actually apply for the work permit. So that's like
supposed to do. Like,
how do they support themselves?
Plan?
Exactly. Like that's the biggest thing that is like, it's so just like, I mean, because we're acknowledging like the government knows that these people are here. It's not even the same thing as like, crossing the border without ever interacting with immigration officials and working with. In this case, in the case of asylum, it's like, yeah, we know you're here, but like you're just gonna have to wait. And if you work, like you're going to be penalized for that. So like, just figure it out. And so people, of course, are going to work, but then like they're risking their case by going to work. Like it's so stupid, but
it's like, yeah, you can chill here, but don't you dare try to put it an honest day of work on.
Right.
Don't you dare try and put food on the table, buddy.
Right. But also don't you dare come asking us for like food stamps, because hell no, we're not giving you that. So it's just like,
well, and then don't you dare participate in any sort of black market economy or get involved in any sort of criminal activity to make money, because then of course, oh my god.
Yeah.
This country sucks.
Yeah, you can chill here. Don't you dare work though. Oh, you're hungry? Don't you dare commit a crime, because then you're out of here. But if you could just wait here.
Truly.
Like, what do they?
Insane, dude.
They expect you in that year to just like sit in your apartment like this.
That's literally what I think. But also, like, they aren't going to give you an apartment. So, like, I don't know where you're finding your apartment. Like, just, I guess, wait somewhere.
You have to just wait outside the building.
Yeah. Just wait outside the immigration court for 3 years, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
You like there's like a line. There's like a line forming, and everybody's like, "Oh, what are you guys in line for? We're in line for a work permit. How long is it gonna take? We're in line for 6 months." I wanted to get here early. 6 months is a while, I wanted to get a good spot in line.
I want to be first in line, yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I'm assuming, I don't think we mentioned this. Obviously this whole year has been a complete shit show with COVID and everything. I'm assuming that has just backlogged everything from taking way longer than it even was prior, right?
Definitely. Yeah. So like a lot of court hearings. So once you're in like in an immigration court case, like you have multiple hearings before your final hearing. And all those like first time hearings are like nothing super substantial happens, but they have to occur before you can have your final one. But all of those have been basically rescheduled. And so some of them have been rescheduled like a year out. So it's just like everything is pushed off. And then like also the border is shut down. So it's not like new people are coming in right now either. Like it's a big mess, and it already takes so long to get through a case, but now it's just like, who knows? Like, yeah, it sucks.
How many, I don't remember. I think I read somewhere, I'm not sure. Are there like a lot of different reasons why somebody can claim it? Like, how many variable like excuses or something to claim asylum like are there?
So there are like 5 main like reasons, I guess. Wow, I'm like gonna forget them, even though I do these like all the time. But you claim based on typically gender or sexual orientation, membership in a particular social group, which could be like an indigenous community, or a lot of times in the cases that I see, that social group would actually be like your family, or because people are targeted like based on their family membership.
Or like
That could also be
furries.
like political organizations. What was that, Pedro?
It was a bad joke. You can continue. I'm
What?
sorry.
No.
About targeting your
Every
family?
time that happens, we have to say
Yeah,
the
I need
joke.
to.
I said or furries. Like if you're a
Okay,
furry-
actually, this could make for a really interesting asylum case. Honestly, I feel like, who knows?
Like, are you like that could be a legit reason?
I'm
Like
dead
if-
serious. I think it could be, because like it's like when you are a member of a group and you're targeted based on your identity or based on that like membership. And I don't know. I could see furries being targeted.
Oh, absolutely. By
So,
me. Don't
I
come
don't
here if
know
you're a
that there
furry.
are. Well, you could
Kidding.
work on this. You should start reaching out anonymously to international furry groups and just see if anyone needs help.
Me?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'd love to help, but I don't
Not
know
but
how.
I'm saying so that they know they have options. They can come.
Oh.
Anyway.
Oh.
We should find a way without hurting the timeline of the actual refugees that need to get their shit processed very quickly. We should find a way to waste time of immigration judges that are just like assholes and just like show up with like bogus ass like asylum reasons. Like, my screenshot with a girl was on dudes who were down bad, and now my friends won't stop clowning me, and I just got to get the fuck out of this country.
I got ratioed on Twitter. I need to get out of England. Let me come across the pond.
Honestly, could work. Actually, no, we don't have, there's too many cases already that are like, ugh, I can't imagine. But no, that would potentially be a group. So it's like social group, gender, sexual orientation, ethnicity. I feel like I'm forgetting something. But yeah, mainly like it's characteristics that you can't change about yourself. If you're being targeted based on those things, then you might qualify for asylum.
Okay.
Wow.
And bro, this is like draining. Like this is like emotionally draining.
Serotonin is just.
Yeah.
I feel responsible. I'm sorry.
I guess so. This is like a very serious question. Like this is like a very like it's such a downer. Like thinking about all this. Like sometimes I just like stop thinking about me being undocumented. I'll just be like, I'm not. I'll just like go into denial mode and then just like coast for a little bit to let that serotonin recharge.
Just salute
how
the
do you-
flag.
Yeah, I'm just like, I pledge allegiance to the flag.
Take on like a fully patriotic persona for a
Yeah.
little while.
Sometimes, yeah, or I'll go just like, I'll just don the ROTC uniform and go walk around the mall, the food court.
Do push-ups in like random places in public.
Yeah.
Do some
Challenge.
stolen valor for some discounted frozen yogurt.
Oh, yeah, go to Chick-fil-A and be like, I served. All right. Those nuggets better be free. I don't do that. I may not be from here, but I don't approve stolen valor. But so my question is, does it ever like get to you? Like I don't know if that's like too personal, but like it's kind of a bummer sometimes.
Yeah, it's definitely a bummer. I think that I don't know. This is like always a sort of a learning like process. But yeah, like I mean, the content of like my day is pretty sad, but I also work with like really phenomenal people, and not just like my coworkers, but also like even the clients that I work with. Like as much as the situation sucks, the system is like completely fucked up. Like that's really hard. But there's a lot of like goodness as well, and lightness, and like just the relationships that I have with the clients that I work with and like with my coworkers. But that's not to say that I'm not like generally a little bit hopeless for like our future as a country, as like a people. But I think there's like some balance.
I mean, I'm just gonna say you're just a very strong individual, like emotionally, to be able to deal with that. Because I just being in my situation, something I was just like, I listened. Nobody by Mitski came on the other day, and I just cried. And I was like,
I mean,
I'm not emotionally strong at all.
I feel
Physically
that.
very strong. I'm like like as far as like lifting big weights, do that all day.
I've seen it. Those are
Emotional
true.
weights, no, I'm not pulling any emotional weight.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that I don't know. I don't feel very strong, but I think I also do things to try to like stay disconnected from it when I am not working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want to, you're doing like really great things for the world and people. And as an immigrant, we appreciate you.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate you guys doing this and bringing awareness out there to what's going on.
For the two people listening, thank you. And now, word from our sponsor. This has been brought to you by Waterloo Peach Sparkling Water.
Ooh, I love Waterloo. Great brand.
So good. Oh my guys, I never.
Wait, dude, you're drinking peach?
Yeah. Peach.
I'm drinking a peach bubbly.
Hey.
Oh.
That's how I know we're friend soulmates.
Oh.
And that's how I know I'm getting old, because I have a favorite flavor of sparkling water now.
Wait, how do you guys feel about coconut LaCroix?
I don't think I've ever had it.
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay, give it a try. It's my favorite flavor, but many people think it tastes like sunscreen. So I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Actually, the first time I ever had a LaCroix was at your house.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was the worst thing I
Wait,
ever
like
tasted.
when you were young, like a kid, or like?
Oh yeah, when me and Declan first started hanging out, your brother. I say he's your brother, but the listeners don't know he's your brother. But when we first started,
wait, has LaCroix been around that long?
Oh yeah, LaCroix was like the nasty drink of our childhood. Like I'm surprised you had it at my house, because I don't remember my mom drinking it. But I had a friend who would drink it, and we were all like, that is disgusting. And then in these last few years, as it's become like the drink, I've had to do a lot of like work to get over that past LaCroix trauma.
Like full disclosure, I got into sparkling water because when I got my first internship out of college with company that is, it's big. It's a big company, and I was like, I'm better than everyone. I'm gonna drink the free sparkling water from like the break room. And then I was like, even though I didn't really like it, I was like, this is who I am now. And then after a while, I was like, I guess no, this is who I am. This is great.
It's good.
But yeah.
Honestly, both of my first two jobs like out of college were both like very dinky nonprofits, like small budget, but we always had LaCroix. That was like the one thing that they made room for in the budget. And I think it's worth it. It's so good.
Priorities.
Yeah.
They wrote that in the proposal to the government. Like, our employees need LaCroix.
You need to be hydrated. Can't be saving the world on a parched
mouth.
Yeah, parched mouth. So I guess I've learned a lot of stuff in these past like 30 minutes or whatever. But is there like one thing? Well, I just don't know a lot about anything, but so I learn something new every day. Really, that's the beauty of it. But is there like anything that like you think is like generally misunderstood about immigration? Like just that people don't seem to care to learn about? Any like misconceptions you want to clear up right now?
Ooh, I don't know. I think that one of the like obvious things that I feel like if anyone's listening to your show, they probably already know this, but like I just think that the way that we talk, like we as in the media and like people just talk about immigrants is really messed up and like not representative of what's actually going on. Like just the idea that like the presence of immigrants is somehow taking away from other like people who were here first, whatever that means. Like it's just so false because like first of all like these people like are already here like and are already working and contributing, not that that should even be the qualification for being here is like your economic contributions, no, but like people are already here, they're like living their lives, and I just think that like I don't know, it's we shouldn't, we should celebrate that, and it shouldn't be like a this idea that that means that like somehow the rest of us will have less access to what we need. And yeah, I don't know, that's not really a great answer. But
No,
I mean, yeah, we
that's
change the way we talk about it and the way we look at it. I mean, that's true.
no, that's a really good answer, because I think that's the thing that I like. I know my dad in his job deals with a lot of undocumented people, and I know one of the things that frustrates him that he would tell me about, like growing up, that kind of made me interested in this was, like just what you said, like how people don't realize like just how different their situation is, and how they don't access the same things that you use. They're not taking away anything materially that, like because a family got asylum here, it's not like that's why you got laid off at your job at AutoZone. Like, like there's no direct correlation there, man. Like they're not taking your jobs.
yeah. And it's such a smart tactic to like, get people to I don't know, hate immigrants or think that we need to change our policies, but like it's just not correct, and it's actually like not helping, the people who are living amongst immigrants. Like it doesn't help you to be upset that those people are here or to think that they're taking something from you. We should be mad. We should be looking up at in our anger, not side to side,
Yeah. Well, and especially with asylum, because like you mentioned the whole process earlier already, that the government knows where you are. They know that you're here. They know they have everything, all this information on you. So why the hell would you go through the process if you were really coming here to be a fucking criminal and like murder white people? I don't know, whatever the government's most afraid of. Why the hell would you go through the process of asylum that takes forever? Have the government know exactly what you're doing if your only goal was getting here so that you can just be an MS-13?
Right. Yeah. Or take everybody's jobs. Like, no, none of that.
Yeah, it's like, hey, dude, would love to go partake in gang-related activity, but I have to go to my first asylum hearing. But after that, as soon as I'm done with the 6-month probation period, maybe possibly a year, then we'll get into it, bro. All right, catch you later. Bye. This is something I've heard, and I'll say it to you guys, and then we could talk about it. But have you ever heard anyone who's like anti-immigration say that how do they word it? They're like, what if I just came into your house and wanted to make myself at home? Have you guys heard that one?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about it? What would you say to someone that says that? Like, say hypothetically someone said that to me in a Call of Duty lobby earlier today. They were like, you immigrant.
Are you okay? Should we
what
talk?
If I came into your house? No, I'm good. Because really what's happening is like you have a room for rent and you're letting someone come in there and then you're telling them they can't work, but they still have to pay you rent.
100%.
Yeah.
That's exactly
that's a good analogy.
That's more what's like happening really when you think about it.
Yeah.
That's what I told the guy online too. I was like, listen, man, here's how it's really going down.
Yeah, you're like, let me fight your bad analogy with a really good analogy.
And then they called me a racial slur and end of that.
How did this happen on Call of Duty?
No, I'm kidding. There's no open discussion. You just yell something at, because there's like the comms, right? When you kill someone, for a second you can hear their hot mic.
Oh, so you only hear their reaction. That would have been a lot to get through.
Yeah, just you have like a super like heated debate.
But you kill him and he immediately just knew you were DACA and got an immigration law and why he believes that you're a waste of resources.
Yeah, no, that's how
it was it was the way you shot, I think.
Actually, someone did call me a slur earlier today, but it wasn't even it didn't even fit me. And I wanted to find them again and be like, hey, by the way, buddy, if you're gonna call me a slur, you call me the right one, okay?
Get it right, bro. I'm undocumented. Let's hear that.
Yeah. Do you guys think illegal is a messed up thing to call someone?
Oh yeah.
I hate that word.
No, don't say it. It's very bad.
Okay.
Also, it's like a legal term that is used sometimes, which sucks because like,
Oh, like that's an actual.
well, like we have to talk about like whether people like enter legally or illegally or are like legally or illegally present, and I just hate it.
I
But
thought the term was like entry without inspection or something. That's what.
that is also a term. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Is that?
And
But that's different.
well, like I guess you would be asking if somebody. Well, okay, entering illegally would be entering without an inspection. Yeah. It means
So the act of entering without inspection is entering illegally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I always hated the one illegal alien the most.
Yeah.
It's like, are you a part of some like intergalactic federation? Like,
Yeah, that's
like,
what we're.
I
That's
hate
what I'm here for. I'm studying you guys.
Yeah. I also like sometimes so like this is sort of a sidetrack, but for my job sometimes I'm like calling offices and like sometimes my clients live in very rural like random places, but they need to like go to the doctor or like find a therapist, and so I'm like calling these offices like trying to explain like the particular needs of this person, and they're like they'll use that kind of like rhetoric with me, and they'll be like I'll be like, this person is uninsured, and they'll be like, oh, are they illegal? And then I hang up the phone and I'm like, we don't want to go to this clinic. But like, or I'll try to say like I don't know, I'll just try to like say they're here without a work permit, but you know, like people use that stuff, those terms, like it's nothing and it's gross. I hate it.
I've never. I mean, yeah. I'll just. That's crazy. Oh, so they're illegal, huh?
Yeah,
I've
I'm
never.
like, why would you just? How can you like casually say that about a person? I don't know.
Well, that's why I've worked on my like white or like on like my phone call voice, because I've been making appointments since I was like more undocumented than I am now. So you really learn to get around, you know.
Yeah.
So
a phone voice.
yeah, I'm not gonna do it.
Is that how you like? Is that how you kicked like your accent? Was like needing to like make those type of calls?
Yeah, and I would say tongue twisters out loud.
Really?
Yeah, because I was like I gotta learn to get around here. And so I would just like say them out loud. And then now I was just like, I wish I hadn't. Yeah.
My dad doesn't have an accent at all, like not one bit. Like the thing with him is he just speaks English as quickly as if he was speaking Spanish, and so it'll just confuse the fuck out of people sometimes.
Just going
Like
for a speed run.
like
Yeah.
I would like growing up, like he would like meet my friends, and my friends would be like, "Dude, what is your dad saying?" I'm like, he's speaking English. Like I'm like, what the fuck?
That's actually like really impressive though, to like be able to speed up English the same way you would Spanish. I don't know. I feel
Dude,
like
he just talks randomly and like mumbles. He's not a good enunciator sometimes. He's just very quick. Like just,
Yeah.
just very like, you know.
Sir, can you repeat your order? This is a drive-through. Oh, Whopper. Okay, got it. That was my impression of your dad at a Burger King.
at Burger King.
The only time I would hear him swear on like a day-to-day basis is just to speak Spanish was to swear. That was it. And I just knew he was swearing, but I didn't know what the words meant when I was a kid.
My dad swears a lot as a joke.
In Spanish?
Yeah. I don't know why. He's just like, he got a sailor mouth. I don't know. I don't get it.
I think it's a Mexican thing. Mexican are they're dirty speakers.
Especially,
They say a lot of we say a lot of curse words. We cuss a lot.
But is it like not like it's not like bad for kids to hear that, or is it? Like I feel like
I think he just knew. For me, in my case, he knew I didn't speak Spanish, so he got away with it.
He's like, this is perfect.
Because I didn't grow up speaking Spanish.
But then really, you just learned only curse words.
Exactly. Because then you repeat it, and he's like, "Wait, why are you saying that?" And I was like, "Well, you say it. Like, what the fuck?"
Yeah.
I know it's a bad word.
I thought that's what we said to the bus driver.
It'd always be "hijo de la chingada" all the time.
Yeah.
That was the one.
Yeah, my dad.
Yep. That.
But you
Like when you would drop something, spill something, always that one.
Yeah.
You do while you say it.
It's like very like you gotta move with it too. It's like a whole body thing. All my nephews like are always like saying hella cuss words in Spanish, and they don't understand it. They don't understand that's what they're saying. My mom. So my sister's kids, they understand Spanish, but they don't speak it super well. And so we had a competition, like a holiday competition, where it was like the grandkid that learned the most Spanish by like close to Christmas time. We were gonna do it Christmas, but we canceled Christmas. So we did it yesterday. They just like recited words and phrases they knew, and whoever knew the most got like a candy prize. Um, and my sister's middle kid was like kind of like going. He was like buenos dias, this, that, jugo, whatever, like just like basic phrases and things he'd like heard around the house. And he was like down by 1 point. He was like in second, and his time was almost up. And my mom was like, "All right, come on, like anything else?" And he looks at my dad. And he goes, so he just said jugo. That was his last one. And he like looks up at my grandpa or his grandpa, and he's like, "Pinche loco." And then like everyone was like, "Yeah, we'll count it." So he won. He barely scraped into first place with that one.
Wow.
Because that's my dad will just like curse at him like to be funny because he knows they don't understand it. But now obviously
But now they say it. I love
they say
it.
it back. So they all won. They all won. Of course, they were all gonna win. That's what's wrong with America. I think it's a participation trophy. I know there's not a single American in this house, but that's wrong. Anyway.
No, that's how your family Americanized. They're like, we want to adapt. We just got to give out trophies for everybody.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say in like my naturalization hearing or whatever, however they do it.
You're like, we're American.
How
I
to
promise.
prove that you're American.
You know how American we are. We do participation trophies, okay?
We are as American as they come.
And I could love cold beer on a Friday night. And hey, you know what else? Pair of jeans that fit just right, buddy.
The radio on, up, on.
On? I never know if it's on or up. I think that's how they weed you out.
Yeah, only the true fans.
Sorry, CC, you're out of here, buddy.
Well, get it right before your interview.
I gotta study. And I think they quiz you on Jimmy Buffett too, but I got that down pat.
Perfect.
Oh, I got. I think this would be as somebody who is a little bit, well, no, me, but for you, Cecilia, somebody who knows about immigration law a decent amount, obviously works with it every day. On a scale of 1 to 10, how ill-advised is this story of how my dad was born in Mexico? Pedro knows this story is ridiculously stupid. Oh, yeah. So my grandparents had already moved to the United States. My grandfather got to come here on the Bracero program, which anybody maybe didn't listen to the first episode, program that let migrant farm workers legally have work permits to work in the United States from Mexico to fulfill the shortage from workers that were participating in fighting in World War II or the excess food that needed to be produced and stuff. So that's how he came. So they were already living in California in the Central Valley. My grandmother gets pregnant, and in order to fulfill some sort of like pride within themselves, like as if having a Mexican passport and Mexican birth certificate means so much to them, leave California to go birth my dad in Guanajuato in Mexico, just to basically screw up his entire legal train of everything. So he's born in Mexico and was born a Mexican citizen, even after they were already living in the United States. Could have fulfilled the Fox News anchor baby scare and just like got it over with. And
wow, wait. So then did they go back like right after?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was like the 60s, a little bit. Not the border was not as militarized as it is today. Okay. So I'm not necessarily. I honestly should do an episode and get the fuzzies of the details in between that. But I know that they came back, and I know that when my dad was 15 years old is when he got his permanent resident card. And then he has like the actual card to show me. But he has just in all laziness that he probably inherited and that I've inherited, he's just, I'm like, oh, when are you gonna like actually like become a citizen? Like, is that something you want to do? Like, he's like, oh, that's just a lot of work. And I was like, okay, but that's like a big thing to have. Like, it's like valuable. He's like, yeah, I don't want to do it.
Wow. Okay, but that's just like, that is wild that they went back for him to be born there. Like, I'm assuming that it was just like different times. Like now, no one would do that. I guess I can't see anyone doing that because like being born here is like so important. but it also, like, this is so not the same, but it just reminds me of my own family. My parents are from Chicago, but we live in Indiana. There's lots of like shame around being a Hoosier when you grew up in the city. And my brother and I were both born here, or I'm sorry, in Chicago, and then we lived in Indiana, and my sister was about to be born, and my mom was like, hell no, and they drove to Chicago for her to be born in Chicago so that they wouldn't have a Hoosier baby. So I get it. You've got that pride. You want to go back. You want to be birthed right. But
The exact same thing.
yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
You're all insane. You're just like, I can't. I'm sorry, but
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess like I can get the like romance behind it, but also, yeah, for practical reasons and immigration, hell no.
Yeah. As an immigration paralegal, you'd probably be like, yeah, it's probably not a good idea.
Yeah, wouldn't do it.
Wouldn't go ahead and do that now. But yeah, I when I first heard that story, I was like, yeah, it's just the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I'm sorry, I love my grandparents, but what the fuck were they thinking? Like, what the fuck?
That's so funny.
And then all of his siblings born in the United States, didn't have to deal with any legal shit whatsoever.
Oh man. Does your dad, is he proud of his roots?
I think so. He always makes a joke. He's like, I don't want to do it because then that way I can just easily go back if I want to retire and like whatever. I don't need to ever do it, but that's his claim. He's like, I don't want to do the paperwork because then that way I could just always go back if I ever wanted to go back. I was like, okay, whatever you say.
He might not qualify, but I do know that like if you work like a minimum amount of time in a position in Mexico, like when you go back and you retire, like you there's like retirement programs and stuff you can like tap into.
Yeah, he the only time he went back for like an extended period of time as a kid, we talked about it, was went to his freshman year of high school in Mexico.
Oh, okay.
Sneak preview. We might have that on this pod. He is slowly considering being interviewed.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
But back to our guest here. Speaking on Chris's dad being born in the US and then having to come back here.
Maybe born in Mexico.
Was that?
You just said being born in the US and having to come back to the US.
Sorry. I listened to your story, dude. I know what happened. Being born in Mexico and having to come back. Can you speak a little bit on like entering at like legal ports of entry in the like how that process goes, or like what's?
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of it, of course, is like weird now, but typically like people can come to the border and there are like all these legal points of entry where you would be met with like an immigration official, and then you could tell them that you are afraid to return to your country or that like you're here for asylum. There was a long while like before they put in place this remain in Mexico policy where like the bridges, so it's like bridges typically where you're gonna be crossing, those were like packed with people and people were like sleeping there like waiting for days and days to like get processed through. And so that's part of why sometimes people are like, I don't, either they don't know about that or they don't want to like go through that. And so then they cross, quote unquote, illegally. And, or like, yeah, sometimes it's just faster and easier. Like if they're trying to get in to just cross that way. And oftentimes like a lot of people I work with like did that and then later expressed fear of returning. So yeah, but then like when you cross, you might be able to enter and like try to reunite with your family if you have like family members here, but oftentimes you're also at risk of being detained and then like trying to get out of immigration detention centers, which are just private prisons. So that also super sucks if that happens.
So like you're seeking asylum or whatever, like what grounds would they have for putting you in a detention center?
So it depends on like a couple different things. Like if you're entering with kids, a lot of times they'll try not to detain you, although like obviously we had the whole family separation thing. But or like if you have family members that you can go to, sometimes that will help you to be able to go through. I honestly like, it's like I don't know all of the different reasons why they decide to detain somebody. Oftentimes I do think it's like when you don't have anyone else that you can go to. And that's also when you'll be held in detention for a long time.
So like that's when you say if you're like you're not with anyone and you don't have any
anywhere
connections in the
yeah,
US.
yeah, because
And
it's
they'll just-
basically like a waiting space for you. Because they're not going to say like if you're expressing fear, like they can't technically send you back. And so yeah, they would let you come in and wait out next steps in a detention facility.
And then say you don't want to wait anymore. So you're like, okay, I'll go somewhere else. I'll do like, how do you get out of detention then? Or like, is that I just don't.
Yeah. So if you were like, yeah, sometimes people will do what's called voluntary departure, where they actually are like electing to either return to their home country, or sometimes I think you can elect a different country, but then the trouble with that is the country that you're going back to has to provide travel documents to the US government, and that can take a long time. So it's like the detention system is really weird, but so yeah, sometimes you can voluntarily be released, but oftentimes you're stuck in there waiting for a long time. And at my first job outside of after college, I worked at a shelter that we took in people who were detained and didn't have any other family members in the U.S. And like often those people had been in detention for like months and months, sometimes years, before they could get out. So it's really hard to get out once you're in, which if you don't have family members. Yeah, so avoiding that is great.
So there's a lot of privilege afforded to people that have family that are United States. Do they have to be citizens? Like, can they be permanent resident family that they have, or does that matter?
In order to actually get released from detention, I think that they do need to have status, or like somebody with status has to be sponsoring them.
Okay.
But yeah. I also like I feel like it's hard because this is just like how a testament to how all of this stuff works. It's like any question, it's not just like a simple straightforward answer. It's like
right, yeah.
It could be this, it could be this, it could be this, it could be this, because it's like so messy.
I mean, I think we talked about it the other day. It's like even within DACA, everything's so case by case. So it's like nothing has a clear answer. You can't just be like, can this happen? What are the outcome of this? You know, it's always like there's so many variables that go into everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then so we're talking about those wait times with like whether it's like showing up for asylum or once you're in here. Can you talk a little bit about like what life is like for asylum seekers once they're here? Like what's that look like?
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I think it depends a lot on what kind of support people already have, sort of in terms of like other family members or friends that they have, just because like that will help them get oriented and maybe like find work. And I guess I've seen like two sides of it, because at at that first job I was at, I was working with people who really didn't have anything else. So they were starting from like nothing and having to figure out like having to find a job without a work permit, having to find an apartment to rent without documents, all of this, and having really limited access to just like, medical care, mental health resources, things like that. So it's tough because, yeah, it's like we were saying, it's like we let you in, but now we're not going to give you anything you need to be successful. So it's great when people have family members here. And now in my work, like a lot of the people that I work with have been here for several years. So they kind of have their lives like set up once they can get a work permit. A lot of times they're working, they have families, they, are living like fairly normal lives. They just don't yet have an answer as to whether or not they'll be able to stay here, which
you keep in contact with them the entire time. Like,
what's that?
Like, do you keep in contact with every case like the entire time, and do you keep in contact after, or?
Well, so this is like, again, because it takes so long, like I have only, I mean, because I've been at my current work for a year, I've only ever seen one of my personal clients like have a final asylum hearing, and that man had already been in the U.S. for, his case was particularly crazy, but he had been in the U.S. for over 10 years already. And so I like in my previous job, like those people I'm still like in contact with, but a lot of them, well, okay, I should say like some of those people already were able to go through their entire case while they were detained. Because if you're detained, you can actually go through a full asylum case quickly, like a bit quicker.
What do you mean? Like, what's a timeline for quicker?
Like a year or like less than a year sometimes.
Okay,
they expedite those hearings and you'll have them quicker. And like you can get an attorney while you're detained, and that can also help make it go quicker.
Okay. Man. This was like a branch, like this was like the whole process that like I was completely unfamiliar with as an illegal.
Hey,
hey, that's my word. I can say that.
Yeah, you can make that word.
Okay.
I guess it's for you.
Yeah, well, I would only refer to not other humans as that.
Right.
Me, or and the funny thing in the chat rooms that I'm in, usually if I don't do it, someone else do it. But in the mornings, someone will just lead with "Happy Sunday, illegals," or whatever day of the week it is. We'll just like chat, because it's mostly just DACA kids that I will chat. We're all adults now, but we were kids at one point. That's how life works.
We used to be children.
Right.
We used to be. Hey, we all used to be children, dude.
Have you been connected with some of those people like since you were younger?
No, actually, I thought I was the main character, and I was completely alone. And then like about a year ago, I was like, no, there's more of me. And so I just went online. I was like, hello, where are the DACA? And then I just met up with them. And I hope they're listening. I told them about this podcast.
Yeah.
If you guys are listening, hello. That's it. That's my message.
See you in the chat room.
Yeah, see you guys in the chat. Cool. So
it's one of those things that's like touching but also depressing. You're like, I thought I was all alone, but then I realized there are a bunch of people that are fucked over because of this dumb shit.
Oh yeah, and most of them feel the same way. Like there's a couple of things that we disagree on as a whole, and there was like sometimes we have like debates in there about like
there's like one DACA Trump supporter who's like, dude, they need to kick my ass out.
there is actually
no.
I've only seen an active. No, he's not in the chat anymore, but I've seen him active.
You got kicked out?
He never joined, but he is active on a couple of Reddit, like subreddits, and he posted one time like a very pro-Trump thing, and so someone actually sent a screenshot of his whole Reddit history, and they were like, "Look at this guy," and he was totally like kind of like I don't know if like definitely like some self-hatred there, very like a huge patriot, but I'm like, dude, this isn't even your country.
Dude, we all have him in our family.
A lot of bootlicker type comments he was leaving.
Dude, I got some of that Mexican family too. That's totally like you like it's like, well, I'm here, so should have just stopped with me. Like fuck all the other people that want to come here. Like I did it.
Yeah, exactly. They were like, you need to tighten up. You need to tighten up security on the border.
It's like, bro, what did you just do like 3 years ago?
Yeah, I'm like, okay, it's just crazy how they think that. Like I got mine, so up yours, dude. Which is just crazy to me how you can have.
No, I think that's so true though. In like, even with other like, I don't know. I'm thinking of like friends of mine whose families came here from like European countries too, like more recently, like who have those types of views. And I'm like, dude, like just because you came from a different type of border doesn't mean you didn't cross a border to come here. Like it doesn't help your larger people to
like you have more in common with anyone else trying to get into the country than you do with like a United States.
It's just a different timeline.
Yeah.
And if anything, what I always try to tell those people is like your family benefited because they came in when the laws were a little bit lax. So it was a little bit tougher to actually like track people. You know, you came from a predominantly white country that you couldn't phenotypically be so like easily identified as being a foreigner. Like,
You
They
got
had it easier.
You can't look down on someone else just because you had luck.
Right.
Yeah.
If,
That's
that
why
guy's
Italians aren't people of color.
there's someone in my life who is a Mexican that wants to be Italian very bad, and I just feel, I don't know. I don't even know what to feel for them.
Wants to be Italian.
Like they don't like they don't want to be like Mexican. Like
So interesting.
it's hard to
Only
explain without like explaining certain instances that will make it obvious who they are.
Right. That's fine.
Uh,
It's just interesting to choose Italianism as your convert.
I don't know. Maybe I don't really know.
The only white POC immigrants are Irish people.
That's me.
Dude, I was reading actually, Pedro. You know, I'm talking. You know, I've been reading that book about like the history of the northern part of the United States when it was Mexico. Reading that massive book. I was actually just reading this, Cecilia. The Mexicans and the Irish go way back, thanks to Catholicism. There was like a faction of the United States Army during the Mexican-American War that left and defected the United States side because of anti-Catholic sentiment, because they were like, we're just getting treated like shit. Like, why the fuck are we fighting in this war? They left to go fight for Mexico, and they were called the San Patricio Squadron. So
wow,
that was cool shit. I read that yesterday.
That's
That's
very
why
cool.
I fuck with the Forbergs. Been saying, bro.
That's awesome. I want to see what like a little I don't know, I'm thinking of like a hybrid uniform with like the Mexican and Irish flag. I think this could be really cool.
There has to be like a decent, because I think a fair chunk of them like left and they came through like the South and like went to Mexico too, and like Texas. Like there's we got to find more of them, but there's a decent amount of probably Irish Mexicans. I got like distant cousins that have like red hair and shit, and it's like, where's that fucking come from? Like that, what the hell?
The San Patricios.
Yeah, they said, let me introduce you to my sister, cuz. That's tight. I love that story.
Yeah. Crazy.
I would say let me borrow that book when you're done, but I'm not gonna read anything.
What is the book? Is it like a Mexican history?
It's called El Norte, and it's like an epic history of Hispanic America, and it kind of starts at like all the way at like colonialism in like the 1400s, and just focuses like specifically on like California, Utah, Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, and Texas, like how that land has transformed, like through like being, like Spanish colonial to being a part of Mexico, then being part of the United States, and like how the border changing has like affected like the type of people that lived there. And so yeah, I was on I was on the chapter that talks about the war where we lost all of our land, Pedro.
Yay! Love that chapter. Love that story. We'll get it back.
I hope you find photos of your family in that book, though. It could.
Oh yeah, I'll just open like the little big picture part of the book, and it's immediately like the picture I just showed you guys.
Yeah. I mean, that's how, if that picture is like documented and like it's up somewhere, it's got to be used in the textbook somewhere.
Oh yeah.
It'll be in a textbook for like it'll be in your like cheesy high school Spanish textbook.
Oh, no. The conjugation's right next to the picture of your family.
Oh, God.
Oh my gosh. So my first thing is there any way just normal members of the general public can help? Like anywhere we can donate, anything, anywhere we can volunteer our time to help asylum seekers or anything like that?
So one thing that I was recently made aware of at work, which I don't have it like pulled up right now, but maybe it could be linked in the show notes. If you do show notes. There's a new kind of like coalition of people who are collecting money for immigration detention bonds, because something that I don't know, I feel like the detention system is like a major overlap with just like how crazy our policing and just like criminal justice system is, and I think like getting people out of that is really important, and it allows them to like at least start living a semi-normal life. So because oftentimes, yeah, to get released you also have to pay like a hefty bond that people don't have. So I can link or give you guys the link to a bond fund for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think like, I don't know, on top of that, it's like so lame to say, but like talking about it and like just like bringing people's awareness to like the fact that there are so many different types of immigrants and like reasons why people come here, and it's not straightforward. It's not like, it doesn't look one certain way. And like, again, this is cheesy, but like I wish people would talk to or like get involved with like organizations in their area and like talk to immigrants and like find out what their lives are, because that would help us break down some of these misconceptions.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm gonna go steal some jobs.
Yeah, please.
Hey, what do I have to do to get your job? Give me your job. I want it. I want it now.
Wait, my job? Actually, we're hiring. Come on through. There's a bunch of positions open right now.
Yeah, there you go.
Actually, I've been looking for a career change. Turns out I'm very unfulfilled.
Well, come through.
Okay, yeah. Did I just discover my path in life?
Did I just get a job?
Dang.
It's that easy.
I accept. Yeah.
I start tomorrow.
See you on Monday. All right. And then no, I guess that was my last question.
Okay.
All
I'm
right.
looking at my notes also because I'm like, did I forget anything important? Not really. Sweet.
All right. Thanks for tuning in to episode 4 of Not So Fresh Off the Boat. My name is Pedro Garcia. I'm with my co-host Chris Arreola, and we have just interviewed Cecilia Forberg. Tune in next week when we interview my brother.